amigos, my name is Anisha and together with my partner Sophia, we're embarking on an adventure to explore modules 5 to 7 of Professor Andresito Acuña's book entitled Philosophical Analysis. Are you ready? Vámonos amigos!
For module number 5, Tanisha, my partner, is going to discuss about ambiguous and vague terms.
Ambiguity is a matter of degree. The more uses a term acquires, the more ambiguous it becomes. But when a term has acquired too many uses, that it becomes very difficult to determine the proper language game in which the term is used, then the term has become too ambiguous. In simple words, mas mahirap intindihin ng mga ambiguous terms kapag dumadami ang gamit nila. The more meaning it has, the harder it is to understand its exact meaning in a given situation. An example is the term good. This term is a central concept in moral philosophy. The term good has been used in many different ways throughout history, and its meaning often depends on the context in which it is used. Ginagamit ng mga hedonists ang salitang ito para tumukoy sa bodily pleasure. Kaya anumang kilos na nagpo-promote ng pleasure ay good. Kung ikaw naman ay isang humanist, ang word na good ay tumutukoy sa pagpapaunlad ng lahat ng iyong potensyal bilang tao. Kaya naman, kung ang kilos ay nagpapabilis sa pag-unlad ng iyong intelektual na potensyal, ang kilos na iyon ay good. Kung ikaw naman ay isang utilitarian, anumang kilos na nagpapalaganap ng maraming kaligayahan sa pinakamaraming tao ay may tuturing na mabuti. Ang salitang good ay pwedeng gamitin sa ordinaryong konteksto. Halos lahat ng bagay ay pwedeng maklasify as good. Isang example na dyan ang good dog, good bike, good person, good luck, goodbye, at marami pang iba. When a term is vague, this means that something went wrong with the intention of the concept. The set of traits or characteristics that members must have to be included in the extension is not sufficient to determine what to include and what to exclude. Isang example naman nito ang word na some. Kung ilo-logic mo yan, ibig sabihin, at least isa pero hindi lahat. Gaano ba talaga kadami ang some? Kapag sinabi kong, there are some good restaurants nearby, gaano kadaming restaurants ba ang sinasabi ko? Kapag sinabi ko namang, some people are slow to react, ilang mga tao ba ang tinutukoy ko? Ang sagot dyan ay at least isa pero hindi lahat. In ordinary language, terms like a few, many, almost all are good examples of vague terms. Uses of these terms leave you guessing how many items are being talked about. When a term is vague, the antidote is to clarify the intention of the concept, to make it usable for including members and excluding members. If a term cannot do this, it is too vague. In simple words, para magamit natin ang mga words na ito, kailangan natin silang i-define na mas clear para alam natin kung ano yung mga kasama at hindi kasama. Kung hindi natin ito magagawa, masyadong vague na ang salita. Mayroong mga salitang considered na sobrang vague na hindi ka na makakapagbigay ng typical na example, katulad na lang ng salitang obscenity at pornography. Halimbawa, ang isang hubad na modelo sa isang magazine ay maaaring ituring na pornografiya, ngunit isang painting ng parehong modelo ng isang sikat na artist ay madalas na nakikita bilang art. Ang mga terminong ito ay masyadong malabo upang madaling tukuyin. Most of the difficulty and confusion around terms usually arise from ambiguity or vagueness. If a term through its history of usage has acquired numerous uses and each of these uses has mutually exclusive intentions, then the concept becomes ambiguous. In contrast, if the intention of the concept becomes so loose and unclear that it becomes difficult to identify the members, then the term becomes vague. Kung ang isang term ay may maraming iba't ibang kahulugan na hindi magkakapareho, ito ay nagiging ambiguous. Kapag ang kahulugan naman nito ay sobrang lawak na hindi mo na alam kung ano ang kasama, vague na siya. The fallacy of equivocation occurs when a term or phrase is used with different meanings in different parts of an argument, leading to a misleading or false conclusion. Essentially, it involves shifting the meaning of a word or phrase in a way that confuses the argument. Sa madaling salita, ang fallacy of equivocation ay nangyayari kapag gumagamit ka ng isang salita na may maraming kahulugan ng paulit-ulit. For instance, you may use the term theory to refer to a scientific theory, and in the same breath, use the same term to refer to a moral theory without warning or qualification. In this example, we can see the term nothing has too many uses, that it is confusing what it exactly means. Remember that the only answer to either an ambiguous or vague concept is to define them. Definition will avoid linguistic confusion not only in your writing, but also in your thinking. Of course, the purpose of a definition is to provide information about the correct use of a term. The following module will teach you how to deal with ambiguity and vagueness through definitions. Definition by synonym. You define an unfamiliar term by using a familiar term. But looking for a synonym is just a preparation for composing a good definition. Apparently, for conversational purposes, a synonym will do. This technique is the most rudimentary type of definition, if it could be called that. In the first place, definition by synonym is an error in definition called circular definitions. This means you have defined the term by using the same term or its synonym. Sinasabi dito na nagde-define tayo ng mga words gamit ang mga synonyms nila. Isang halimbawa dyan ang salitang argument na may kasing kahulugan na quarrel. Isa itong simpleng paraan para tukuyin ang mga salita pero hindi ito ang pinakamagandang paraan. People often ask the meaning of words they don't understand. If someone asked you to define amphibian, you couldn't simply use a similar word because it might not be clear. You need to explain it in a different way. On many occasions, the use of a word can easily be specified by giving examples of the extension members, either verbally or by a pointing gesture. This is the most common way of conveying the use of a term, namely pointing to the members of its extension. In fact, you learn how to use most of the basic vocabulary of your native language through ostensive definition. You could say that the term amphibian denotes animals like frogs and turtles. Normally, giving examples of the extension of a term would satisfy the curiosity of the person who does not know the meaning of the term amphibian. Please note that a concept learned through ostensive definition is incomplete since the use of the term amphibians will be limited to the pointed animals. Furthermore, you must know that the extension of most concepts cannot be pointed to. For example, the members of the extension of analytical, fictitious, metaphysical, dispositional, and theoretical concepts cannot be pointed to. You might only think of those specific examples and not realize there are other animals that are also amphibians. You can discriminate frogs and turtles from the rest of the animal kingdom, but you cannot generalize the use of the term to other animals that truly belong to the extension of the concept amphibian. To have a complete understanding of the meaning of the concept, you have to state its intention without vagueness and give some typical examples of the members of the extension. Example na yung amphibians. The intention of the concept is yung mga hayop that can live in both land and water. Knowing the intention, madya-generalize mo na yung other members of the extension like crocodiles, salamanders, anaconda, and more. To fully understand a word, you must be able to state in simple, clear, and precise language the intention of the concept. You should also give examples to help people understand what the word means. In this way, it would facilitate the learning of the concept through psychological process of discrimination and generalization. Whatever else definition may include, this is the bottom line. And this way, you would avoid vagueness. This will help them learn the word better by comparing it to other things. At this point, baka may tanong ka. How do you define the term definition? Well, simple lang yan. A definition is a linguistic device that provides an explanation or demonstration about the use of a term. The use of a term is highlighted in terms of its extension and intention in the context of a language game. All definitions must share this common feature. Complete lang ang definition if binigyan ka ng clear statement of the intention and some typical members of its extension. Now I'm done and my partner Sophia will take over for the rest of the Module 6 to 7.
Thank you for that, Tanisha. And now, pumunta naman tayo sa ating next definition. In logic and philosophy, definitions can be of two main types, which is yung reportive and stipulative. First, let's discuss muna kung ano yung reportive definition. Reportive definition explains how a term is commonly used in everyday situations. It aims to reflect the general, accepted meaning of a word as it is understood by the majority of people. So, sa reportive definition, pinapakita yung conventional meaning ng isang word and kung paano siya ginagamit kadalasan sa normal conversation or sa writing. Parang nire-represent niya din how most people understand and use the term without any specialized or technical context. Reportive definition is also known as dictionary definition kasi nire-resemble niya yung type of definitions na makikita natin sa dictionaries. However, dictionary definitions can sometimes be incomplete because they often use synonyms or explain the meaning without giving clear examples. So, sinasabi sa bullet na to yung limitation ng reportive definition kasi pinaprovide niya lang yung general sense ng term which may lack depth or clarity. Kung walang malinaw na example or context, these definitions can sometimes leave out important aspect of a term's meaning, kaya nagiging incomplete ito for deeper understanding. Ang next naman na type of definition natin ay ang stipulative definition. Stipulative definition assigns a new or specific meaning for a term that may not align with its common or existing use. This is often done in order to clarify how a term will be used within a particular context or discussion. So, it's definitely important to inform your audience about your stipulative definition kasi baka malito or ma-misinterpret nila yung mga sinasabi mo. Paano naman kung nag-i-exist na yung term na to? Kung nag-exist na yung term na to, this definition may, but does not necessarily contradict the reportive or dictionary definition of the term. And dahil dito, hindi natin masasabi kung correct or incorrect ang stipulative definition kasi it's about clarifying how a term will be used in a particular situation. So, meron tayong example dito. For this study, we'll define healthy snack as any food that contains no more than 100 calories per serving and at least 5 grams of protein. Sa example na to, binigyan ng specific meaning yung healthy snack para sa study, which might differ sa general or dictionary definition of a healthy snack. Parang kinaklarify nito yung set of criteria ng healthy snack to ensure na merong common understanding yung participants or researchers. So, ang last natin for Module 6 is operational definition. An operational definition is a way of defining a concept by specifying the exact procedures or operations used to measure or observe it. This technique was invented by Percy Williams Bridgman kasi he believed that all scientific concepts should be clearly defined by how they can be tested or measured in practice. So, makikita natin na meron tayong two types of operational definition, which is yung paper and pencil operations and instrumental operation. Sa paper and pencil operation, ginagawa ito using written methods, verbal descriptions, or thought experiments to define and explore the concept. Tapos, sa instrumental naman, it is performed by using various tools or devices like microscopes or telescopes to observe or measure something. Madedefine yung scientific concept based sa observation nyo sa experiment na ginagawa nyo. Tapos, sa paper and pencil naman, hindi mo na kailangan mag-perform ng observation to define a scientific concept. For example, meron tayong word na fear dito. Sa paper and pencil operation, fear is measurable physiologic responses that occur in response to a perceived threat. So, sinasabi dito na ang fear ay physiologic response ng isang tao pag nakakaramdam siya ng threat. Tapos, ang fear naman sa instrumental operations is defined as specified changes in heart rate, galvanic skin response, pupil dilation, and blood pressure. Dito naman sa instrumental operation, ito yung mga observation na ginagawa sa isang tao kapag nakakaramdam siya ng takot. So, makikita natin sa example na to yung difference ng paper and pencil at instrumental operation. Sa paper and pencil, dinedefine yung concepts through theoretical explanations and written descriptions. Habang sa instrumental operation naman ay through direct measurement and observation using tools or devices. And for our Module 7, we will discuss analytic definition. But before natin pag-usapan kung ano nga ba ang analytic definition, let's define first kung ano yung analytic. According to Cambridge Dictionary, analytic is examining or liking to examine things in detail in order to discover more about them. So, in general, ang analytic ay parang isang approach or method kung saan binibreakdown muna natin yung complex concepts into smaller or simpler components para mas madali siyang intindihin. Meron tayong 3 parts ng analytic definition. The first one is definiendum, the second one is definiens, and the third one is denotata. So, let's discuss the definiendum. The definiendum is the term to be defined. So, kunyari sa example na to, mammals are a class of warm-blooded vertebrates characterized by having fur or hair and the ability to produce milk to nourish their offspring, including examples such as humans, dogs, whales, and elephants. So, yung definiendum natin sa example na to ay yung mammal. Kasi, ito yung binibigyan natin ng kahulugan. Ang next part naman ay ang definiens. The definiens provides the intension or the defining property of the definiendum. So, ang definiens natin sa example kanina ay yung class of warm-blooded vertebrates characterized by having hair or fur and the ability to produce milk to nourish their offspring. The definiens usually consists of 2 parts. Yung una is yung genus, which is yung category which the definiendum belongs. Tapos yung pangalawa naman ay yung differentia, which is yung unique use, function, or traits ng definiendum natin. So, ano nga ba yung genus tsaka differentia kanina sa example natin? Ang genus sa example natin kanina ay yung warm-blooded vertebrates. Kasi dito nabibilang yung mammals. Tapos yung differentia naman natin ay having hair or fur and the ability to produce milk to nourish their offspring. Kasi ito yung unique trait ng mammal na hindi natin makikita sa ibang vertebrate animals. So, ang third and last part naman ng ating analytic definition ay ang denotata. Denotata is examples or instances that fall under the definiendum, illustrating the concept. So, sa madaling salita, ang denotata ay yung examples natin. So, ang denotata natin sa example sentence kanina ay yung humans, dogs, whales, and elephants since ini-illustrate nila yung mga qualities ng isang mammal. Now, let's move to rules in composing a definition. Number 1. A definition must state a trait or set of traits, characteristics, or functions that members must possess. So, sinasabi dito na dapat nagpro-provide ng necessary and sufficient information yung definition ng word. Pag kasi too broad siya, may mga instances na baka ma-include or sumobra yung mga bagay that don't really fit the concept. Tapos kapag naman it's too narrow, baka may ma-exclude ka na kasama dapat. So, ang aim natin dito is to include all relevant instances of the concept while excluding irrelevant ones. So, yung example natin dito is, a bird is an animal that flies. So, hindi ideal tong definition na to kasi it's too broad and too narrow at the same time. Broad siya kasi maraming animals na lumilipad tulad na lang ng mga insects or bats. Pero hindi naman sila considered as a bird, di ba? So, ang nangyayari dito is parang nag-overlap yung definition nito sa iba. The definition is too narrow naman kasi merong mga birds na hindi naman lumilipad tulad ng mga penguins. The second rule is a definition must not be circular. So, yung definition natin ay hindi dapat gumagamit ng mga term being defined or mga close synonyms sa explanation. Hindi siya ideal kasi it doesn't provide a deep understanding or clarity about the term. So, example, believing is having faith and faith is having belief. Diba, parang nakakalito lang yung definition kasi faith and belief are essentially the same concept. Defining one with the other doesn't clarify what each term actually means. The third rule is, a definition must be stated affirmatively rather than negatively, because definitions should be informative. It must state what it is and not what it is not. So, iwasan natin magbanggit ng negative word kapag nagde-define, such as no, not, never. So, example natin ito is, a book is something that is not a magazine. So, example na to, hindi niya dinedefine kung ano yung book. Instead, sinabi niya lang na hindi ito magazine. Which is wrong kasi it fails us to inform the essential characteristics of a book. The fourth rule is, a definition should not use figurative, obscure, and metaphorical language. Kasi kung gagamit ka ng mga to, the definition would be uninformative. Metaphors and figurative language often rely on subjective interpretations and personal perspectives, which can lead to misunderstandings and hindi rin ito nakatulong para maintindihan yung concept in a precise manner. So, example natin dito is, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Diba, hindi siya clear kasi this example suggests that beauty is subjective, pero hindi naman clearly defined what beauty itself is. The last and final rule for composing a definition is, a definition must not be defined by synonym or by ostensive definitions. Hindi natin to dapat ginagamit kasi it can be incomplete and misleading. Kapag nagbibigay lang tayo ng similar word para explain ang isang term, hindi provide yung full understanding ng concept and it can be circular or vague. So, example natin dito is, generosity is being kind. Diba parang hindi siya maganda kasi hindi niya kinaklarify kung ano yung word na generosity talaga.
For our discussion. If you have any questions, feel free to approach us and call us.
Backpack, backpack.
Amigos, see you next time. Adios!